So Margie.
There you go. Yep.
I got my reading show.
What did she say?
Her bed, sometimes.
You should have it now.
Yeah.
That force shutted it down, had to wait for it to come back up.
Give my LinkedIn, like, give 2%.
Alrighty. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank y'all for being here. I know we don't have many, but you know what? You're still gonna have a good time, and hopefully none of y'all deal with this. I think all of y'all are happy-go-lucky people and never deal with anger. So this might not benefit you. So,
Deal with anger.
alrighty.
Sort of across the counter the other day.
So this first session, there's gonna be,
They gave me so many.
how many sessions are there? There's 6. So the first one is the definitions. So we'll try to get through these pretty rapidly since I got 32 of them. But the first one is, we know where this comes from. Ephesians 4:26-27 says, "Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath." But I added this one, "Neither give place to the devil." It's important for us to handle our anger properly. If vented thoughtlessly, anger can hurt others and destroy relationships. But if bottled up inside, it can cause us to become bitter and destroy us from within. Remember, anger is only one letter from danger. So once we get angry and we sin, then we give place to the devil. And it happens. Paul tells us to deal with our anger immediately, but in a way that will build up relationships rather than destroying them. It's not easy to do when somebody makes you angry. You know, you want to go at them. If we nurse our anger, we will give Satan an opportunity to divide us. That's when relationships are destroyed. It's because of anger. So we look at the fire within. So I'm going to read something to you, and I want you to tell me who you think this is from the Bible. Let me get to it. There it is. "The day begins like any other day, but ends like no other. On this day, he gives full vent to his anger, and as a result, he's running for his life. He is part of a mistreated minority, grievously persecuted, and not for doing something wrong, but for being perceived as a threat. Raised with privilege in the palace of a king, he is spared the heartless treatment inflicted on his kinsmen. By watching the injustice day after day and year after year, finally becomes too much for him to bear. When he sees one of his own people suffering the inhumane beating at the hands of an Egyptian, he becomes filled with rage. He snaps, and in an instant, he kills the Egyptian and hides the body in the sand. But his angry, impetuous act is not committed in secret. So when the news reaches the Pharaoh, this person runs for his life and flees." Anybody know who that is?
Yep.
Moses. So it's so when we look at Moses' life, we can see both the power and the problems inherited with anger. So has anger ever clouded your judgment to the point that you reacted rashly and lived to regret it? Anybody? Like, I'm not admitting it. You're a cop, and I'm not saying a word because we're live. I know what you are thinking. I won't hold it against you. Nobody? Nobody's done anything? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a mistake one time.
What's that?
One time.
I was on a submarine and my rank and everything, I took care of all the small arms, the pistols, and we had some M1s and we had a couple of Thompsons and 150 caliber machine gun. And I had a guy that was under me. We come back from Japan and his wife, we'd been gone for 6 months, and his wife was 3 months pregnant. And he flipped his lid. And I thought I had him straightened out. And he come to me one day, it was about 4 months afterwards, he said, I'm gonna clean the small arms. He went what we call a bathroom on the submarine, was a head. He went in there and put the thing in his mouth and pulled the trigger.
Mm.
And I hated that rest of my days there. I knew not to let him do it, but I let him, I thought he was all right. And then my judgment call was wrong.
Well, one thing I've learned from cases like that, he would have still done it. Even if you wouldn't have let him, he would have went somewhere else, found something else. He was intent on doing that. Unfortunate you had to be the one that he used. But yeah, I mean, it's people handle anger totally different. Some do that. Some lash out. Some think about revenge. You know, so we have the choice to either act wisely or we can react foolishly when we're angry. Moses did it both. Like Moses, we can face a fiery anger within and learn to keep it under control. Remember Proverbs 29:11 says, a fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it till afterwards. This is the hardest thing to do right here. Don't let anger cloud your judgment. We're too quick to react. Take a breath. Step back. If you have to, walk away. Count to 10 backwards. Makes you think. Because it's easy to go 1, 2, 3.
Work.
What's that?
It doesn't always work.
90-something% of the time that will. It's been proven statistically, if you just walk away, get away from the situation that just caused it, put yourself out of it, your mind's still gonna be, but if you walk away and count backwards, it makes you think, because we're not used to counting backwards. We're used to counting just flowing it. So when you're thinking, what it does cognitively, it takes your mind off of that situation. It's not easy, trust me. I've been in situations where I've had partners fly off the handle and I've had to remove them. Now I could have been a hothead too, but I'm like, and it also depends on your upbringing, you know, how you handle things. If people are brought up constantly seeing it and seeing their parents, grandparents, or whoever they entrust fly off the handle, then guess what? They're gonna fly off the handle. Is it easy? No. But is it doable? Yes. It just depends on what we choose.
Now, yes, it's doable. When I was little, no.
Yeah.
Because my sister had a cat, and the cat was very nice. It never hurt anybody. But a dog that a lady down the street owned jumped on my sister when she was holding the cat and killed the cat. Well, my parents went to my spinster aunts. My stepdad's spinster aunts. And I saw the dog walking along across the brook and it had a high bank. Well, my dad had a .22 target rifle, but he kept the firing pin and the ammunition in his strong box. But I knew where the combination was. I unlocked it, loaded the gun, went upstairs, and watched the dog, and I shot him. And I killed him dead. And I put him in the back of a wagon. And I walked down to the house and went up the driveway and dumped the dog on the front stairs. And then went home and cleaned the rifle and put it away.
Did you clean the wagon?
Yep.
Okay, so make sure you got rid of all evidence.
And they stopped at my house because his next door neighbor was a sergeant in the police force, and he stopped at our house, and my dad showed him the rifles, and I cleaned both the rifles that he had. And when he got home, I told my stepdad, while you were gone, I took the rifles from the closet, and I knew it wasn't supposed to, but I wanted to clean them, so I did. And I put them back, and they could never prove a thing.
Well, I think statute of limitations gone now. I think you're good.
Well, she's a year younger than me. I'm gonna be 77, so she's gonna be 76. I think by now she probably forgot about it.
But the dog was, he jumped on her, so,
Mhm.
I don't think you did anything wrong. You might have hurt another kid.
No, he killed the cat. He wasn't going after his sister.
I know, but it could have been a kid next.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, we got this lady out at work. She always comes in and buys lottery. We call her lottery lady because she gets a stack of lottery like this. And one Saturday morning she come in, she says, I'll take 2 16s. I took them out of the rack, folded them in half, you know, like the two together, put them next on the register, got her hand printed ones. I come back and then she says, well, I'll take another one of those other tickets. So I stuck that ticket in between those tickets with her other ones and I handed it to her. She paid her bill and off the door she went. A few minutes later she come back in accusing me of not giving her one of her tickets. I'm like, ma'am, I'll tell you exactly what I did and how I did it. So I was telling her how I did it. Oh no, you didn't give me that ticket. She was going on and on and on. Well, she went to Sarah, the assistant manager. Sarah wasn't arguing with her. She walked over to the computer, typed up the security camera and told the lady, Jim did just what he was supposed to do. When she was arguing with me, I walked away. I'm like, I'm not arguing with you, and I walked away. I wasn't dealing with that lady.
Sometimes we add fuel to the fire when we sit and argue back.
I didn't argue, I just walked away.
Yeah, that's the best thing. But injustice will ignite anger. Acts 7:25 says, for he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. I'll read to you, I probably should have read it first, but that's okay. Understandably, Moses felt anger over the unjust treatment of his Hebrew brothers, but what he did with that anger is what caused all the trouble. Moses allowed his anger to overpower him. Acting on impulse, he committed murder. Although he was right about the injustice, he was wrong in his action and his reaction. His hot-blooded voluntarily or volidity revealed how unprepared he was for the task God planned for him. Consequently, God kept Moses on the backside of a desert for the next 40 years, so that he would realize that rescuing his own people in his own way would ultimately fail. Moses needed to learn this vital lesson to become the leader through whom God would accomplish his own will in his own supernatural way. So Moses tried to earn the Israelites' respect by coming to their rescue, and instead his murderous rage earned only their disrespect. Because of that, Moses had to wait another 40 years before he could rescue the people, which kept the people in bondage for 40 years. Then when they got into the wilderness, and because of disobedience, they were 40 years in the wilderness. Not because of Moses, but because of the people. So the meaning of anger, Proverbs 6:27, can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burnt? No, they can't. I know this might sound weird, but Fran, light that candle right there for me, please, and just light it, and then you can sit back down. It's for an illustration. Y'all might be able to see it back there, and definitely you're not going too way back there, but just think about when you light a candle. A lot of people, when they light a candle, they become entranced by the flickering flame. As it dances on the wick, it's a delight to see, but dangerous to touch. No one dares to put a finger even to the tiniest of blazes. So anger is much like the flame of a candle. It's associated with the heat of varying degrees. So temperatures are determined by the hues of the flame. But no matter the blues, yellows, oranges, or reds, we all know that it's hot. And if we hold on to it, we will get burnt. It goes on to say, and so it is with anger. The higher the degree of heat, the more people get hurt, including you. So, when we look at this, anger is a strong emotion of irritation or agitation that occurs when a need or expectation is not met. So Proverbs 29:22 says, an angry man stirreth up strife, and a furious man aboundeth it, or I guess I said that right, I don't know, in transgression. So that, in Hebrew, anger here actually means a nose or nostril. Furious in the Hebrew means heat, figuratively poison. We're going to see more about the nose and the nostril thing here in a second because it goes more in depth with that. Angry people in the Bible are often described as hot-tempered or quick-tempered. Proverbs 15:18, a wrathful man stirreth up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeaseth strife. So the meaning of anger, here's anger management training. Let me guess, coach, I've got to come back again tomorrow, right? You go in for anger management, and look what happens. Some of y'all probably been there. I see y'all laughing. So, anger in the Old Testament is mostly frequently used by the Hebrew word, I told y'all where it means nose or nostrils, depicting nostrils flaring with anger. Later, it's come to be represented the entire face as seen in two Hebrew idioms, and I'll tell you what that is here in a second. So when we go in a second, I'll tell you what an idiom is because you're probably kind of like, what is that? It's a group of words established by usage as having a meaning not deductible from those of the individual words. So it's kind of like a phrase or expression whose meaning is not literal, but instead figurative. Here's an example. Spill the beans doesn't mean to literally spill the beans, but rather to reveal a secret. That's what an idiom is. So Hebrew, there's a lot. We got long of face or nose, meaning slow to anger. Psalms 145:8, the Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger and of great mercy. Then you have the other one. Short of face or nose, meaning quick to anger. Proverbs 14:17, he that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated. So in the New Testament, the Greek word spelled O-R-G-E, don't say it how it sounds because it would be something perverse and nasty, but that's not how it sounds. But it actually means natural impulse or desire, but later came to signify anger as the strongest of all passions. That's in the Greek. It is often translated as wrath because of its powerful, lasting nature. Romans 2:8, but unto them that are conscious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath. So that's where that can be used. How many of you are glad that God is slow to anger? There's several verses that talks about God being slow to anger. You got Exodus, Numbers, Nehemiah, 3 different ones in Psalms, Joel, and Nahum. I am glad that God is slow to anger. Can you imagine if God acted like we did when we got angry?
Sometimes I wish he'd slap somebody real quick.
Yeah, that would help. You would hope you'd hope he'd let you do it sometimes, but he don't let us do that either. I mean, can you imagine? We'd all be dead if God acted like we did when it came to anger. So what is the magnitude of anger? Genesis 49:5-7 says, Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor. Be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a well. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Can you imagine what they went through and what they did? I'll give you a little insight of it, because I don't think. Okay. So the next time you light a candle, look at the hues and the shades of the flame. Notice the light blue at the center. That's actually the hottest part of the flame. The temperature then diminishes from the inner core to the outer edges, signifying by shades of yellow, orange, and then red. Likewise, anger can run the gamut from bright red to a light blue. Anger can lightly singe or severely scorch. It ranges from mild agitation to hot explosions, from controlled irritations to uncontrolled eruptions. Joseph's brothers that we just read about displayed the destructive heat of their anger. These were Joseph's brothers. Anger is a wide umbrella, word covering many levels of emotion. Indignation is known as simmering anger. It's provoked by something appearing to be unjust or unkind and is often perceived as justified. Jesus became indignant when the disciples prevented parents from bringing their children to him so that he might bless them. Mark 10:14, but when Jesus saw it, he was much displeased and said unto them, suffer the little children to come unto me and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. That one he was justified. You know, he angered and sinned not here. He was angry because he wanted the kids to come to him and people weren't allowing them. So sometimes it can be good, but sometimes it might not. Now some of y'all have this, wrath. That's that burning anger accompanied by a desire to avenge. Wrath often moves from the inner emotion of anger to the outer expression of anger. And we're going to see here in a second, in Romans 1:18, it explains that God expresses his wrath as divine judgment on those who commit willful sin. So the verse is, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So that, I mean, you think about it, God has every right. He's not just a God of love, he's a God of wrath too, if we push him to it. Anybody got anything before we keep moving? Y'all learn anything? No, I don't need this. I'm happy. Fury is known as fiery anger, so fierce that it destroys common sense. Boy, do we see that today. The word fury suggests a powerful force compelled to harm or destroy. Back in the biblical days, some members of the Sanhedrin were fiercely angry with Peter and the other apostles for proclaiming that Jesus was God. Acts 5:33, when they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them. We know people today, people in higher positions, that are full of fury. They don't have God in their heart. The next, rage. That's a blazing anger. That results in loss of self-control, often to the extreme of violence, or what some people call temporary insanity. I look at that as you knew what you were doing. Now granted, where that can hold is somebody does something to, say, your child or family member right in front of you and you just react. You're allowed, that temporary insanity will work. Okay? It really will. But if you have time to premeditate, not at all, because you have time to stop. Okay, so after an outburst of rage, a cry of remorseful regret or disbelief is often expressed of, I can't believe I did that. None of y'all have ever said that, I know. Because y'all have all, you're good. You don't do anything bad. I don't never see anybody at the altar in here, so y'all are good. So yet those who continue to vent their rage towards others, including towards God, find themselves defeated by their own destructive decisions and ruined relationships. Proverbs 19:3 says, the foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. That word fretteth in the Hebrew means properly to boil or to be peevish or angry. Meaning it's boiling, it's just, it's a rage. You cannot, it's fixing to explode. Proverbs 29:8 says, scornful men bring a city into a snare, but wise men turn away wrath. Periodically, everyone feels the heat of anger, but how you handle the heat determines whether or not you are misusing it. The small flame that lights a cozy campfire, if left unchecked, could just as quickly ignite a fierce forest fire. Conversely, the initial spark of anger that could be used for good, if snuffed out too quickly, can keep anger from accomplishing its designated purpose. If you are wise, you have learned how to handle your anger, and you have learned how to help others handle theirs, if we are wise. So you got prolonged anger. That's the simmering stew. We hold it for a long time. This anger is a result of an unforgiving heart towards a past offense or offender. Unforgiveness left unresolved can result in resentment and also bitterness. Here's an example. I'll never forgive the way he talked to me years ago. We all know people like that. We all know family members that are like that. And it's sad because a lot of these people claim to love God and yet hold this in their heart. That prolonged anger is not going to help you with your relationship with the Lord. It's actually going to hurt.
It's like half my family hitting the guy that killed my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
For what? What good to do them?
They think they still got control. No, it's actually got control of them. Because we got family members that do the same too. And it's sad. Hebrews 12:15 says, looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and therefore thereby many be defiled. We went through Hebrews, remember? A lot of people that claim to be something, they're going to be sad and mistaken at the time that they meet the Lord. If they got any kind of anger or hatred in their heart, the Bible says they can't enter. That won't enter into heaven. So we got to be careful. Here's another one. Pressed down anger, or known as the pressure cooker. That's denied or hidden anger. That's usually developing from a fear of facing negative emotions. This kind can create a deceitful heart and lead to untruthfulness with others. Failure to honestly confront and resolve angry feelings can result in self-pity, self-contempt, and even self-doubt. An example. I never get angry, maybe just a little irritated at times. Wrong. You're angry. Admit it. Move on. That's what the Bible says. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. Get rid of it. Or it's going to grow and it's going to fester and it's going to fuel and keep getting fueled, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Now this might relate to some. Provoked anger, the short fuse, is quick and impatient, instantly irritated or incensed. A testy tempter is often expressed using criticism or sarcasm under the guise of teasing. I can't believe you said that. You're so childish. We try to make it not so bad, but yet inside, it is. Bible says, be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. Wow. I didn't put the next one in there. That's odd. Hold on a second so I can read it to you. Thought I had it there. Must have typed it pretty fast. Oh, and that was a good one too. No, I did. I just did something different with it. That's weird. Okay. So the profuse anger, the volatile volcano. None of y'all in here like that, are you? Start calling you volcano. Powerful, destructive, and hard to control. This way of releasing anger is characterized by contempt, violence, and abuse towards others. This is where people, and I've heard this, you fool, if you do that again, you'll wish you've never been born. I've heard people say that. I've heard people say, I'll knock you silly, or hey, you're gonna wish you were never born, blah, blah, blah. We gotta be careful if we ever call somebody a fool. Jesus says, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. We have to be careful what words we choose and how we talk to people, talk about people. Yes, they may be that. They may act like that. They may be worse than that. But we've got to learn to not do that. It's not easy. So I want you to think about our culture today. In what specific ways do you see anger being expressed?
People nowadays they're fast to anger. They're fast to retaliate.
Yep.
They don't know how to walk away anymore.
Well, most people are angry and they don't even know why.
Because they're taught to be.
Yeah.
Our culture's been taught to be angry. Be mad at it. You're owed. You're entitled. Be angry about everything.
They get their feelings hurt.
Yeah, they get their feelings hurt, or you offended them. If they quit wearing panties, they wouldn't be in a wad all the time, now would they? That's just my saying. I'm like, hey, don't have your feelings hurt all the time. Don't wear. I mean, learn. I tell people sometimes, grow up a little bit. Got to learn from it and move on. Let it go. Nope. We have riots, fights, shootings. Before you could, in school, you could fight and be done. Okay, I respect you now. Nope. Now they want to stab you, kill you. They never fight fair. It's always 5 against 1 because nobody does it like they used to. It's gotten worse. The anger's getting worse. Remember what I said before, anger is not necessarily bad or evil. Even Jesus, who never sinned, became angry or indignant when children were prevented to coming to him. So what, has there been a situation where anger would have been appropriate and could motivate people to do something good? Anybody think of anything?
In my case, when the man killed my daughter, at first, the initial reaction was to destroy him, which is why when I wanted to talk to him and he was in court, they put a police officer on either side of me. But I couldn't deal with her death because I was so mad. But what I wanted, when God showed me I should deal with it, I actually forgave him because he didn't set out to kill her. It was just his own, we'll call it stupidity, that did it. It wasn't him personally, but what he did that led him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, it wound up something good. Because the anger was turned from within against him to I could accept what he did and forgive him.
Right. We take other instances where somebody has been tragically killed, whether maliciously or not, and you see the family turn around and do like memorials or let's help other families not go through this. You know, there are some people that will turn it around for the good. So that where it goes with the verse of what the devil meant for bad, God meant for good. So we can always turn that around to use for God. Will we do it at that moment? No. Our flesh is way too strong at times. That's why I say we have to walk away and pray and ask God help. But tell God how you feel. Don't wait. Some people try to sugarcoat their prayers and be like, I don't want God to know exactly how I feel. He already does. So if you're truly angry at somebody to the point that you want to kill them, tell God. And then ask him, help me with that feeling. Take it from me. Help me to do better. Help me to be what I need to be so that we're not. But yes, God can use a situation of anger and turn it to good. It just depends on how we handle it. You know, we're starting a series on dealing with anger. Nobody in here is angry, so we're good. But there's all different kind of angers in there, and some people just might not get it. Nah, we're learning. But yeah, and it just depends on the situation as well, you know. And then it goes on, anger can either drive us to say or do things we later regret, or it can be a catalyst to correct an injustice or stand up for something that we deeply believe in. But what does your anger typically drive you to do? I mean, does it typically drive you to isolate at times? Mine does. I'll be honest with you. I get angry, I get quiet.
To say things you don't mean to say, anger.
Yeah, I isolate, I stay quiet, stay to myself, and that's the worst thing you can do, because then what happens? I give place to the devil.
Maybe have attitude with somebody that wasn't even involved. Maybe.
That can happen. And it's scary because anger, if we don't learn how to deal with it, I'm hoping through this series we'll learn. And we'll know who comes Wednesday nights and who don't whenever we're around them. If they're angry, you should come Wednesday night. You would have learned how to deal with that. You know? So how does your anger affect your relationship with God? And then how do you relate to God when you're angry? Sometimes we isolate from him. Some people blame him for things. I don't believe that if our anger is not dealt with, that our relationship with God's going to grow.
It won't.
No. It's going to hinder it.
When I was little and my father died in Korea, I got very angry at God. It's not his fault that my father died in Korea. It just happened. It was his time to go. He went.
We were talking, me and a couple guys at work, they brought up the situation with Deputy Blaine when he was shot by friendly fire because a lady came out with a fake gun that the deputies did not know was fake. And it was the one where he was outside and got shot and the bullet went in and just, young kid. And I tell people, and I have to listen because it happened in our family too. No matter what you're doing or where you're at, when God decides that it's your appointed time, you are going home. It doesn't matter if you're killed by somebody, if you have a heart attack, if you're doing something that, oh, he shouldn't have done that and he would have been fine, or no. When death is not an accident, okay? God doesn't turn his head and say, oh, I didn't see that. Bible says it's appointed unto man to die once. So whatever that appointment is, it's going to happen. The problem with us is when it happens, especially if it's not something that, let's say, we knew was coming, person's been sick, hospice got called in, we know it's inevitably coming. But it's say it's a traffic crash or a murder or something, we always want to say, why, God? Where were you? Why'd you not stop? We have to realize God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. We're never going to understand that. Don't try to figure it out. I tried when my brother committed suicide. You're never going to figure that out. All I kept saying to myself was, God put him on my heart for 3 months before he did it. If I would have went and talked to him, would it have stopped him? I don't believe so. That was his appointed time. He did it. God allowed it to happen. No, we can't. God's the giver and taker of life, but sometimes our appointed time is because we chose something, and God, we're going to live with that for eternity. I don't know. I don't understand it, but that's why we have to realize that we can't blame somebody else or even God for the death of a loved one or somebody that we knew, because the Bible clearly says it's going to happen. But when it happens to us, we're like, no, that wasn't supposed to happen to us. Well, it's going to. We want it to be where church gets raptured, we're all gone, or the person lives a long life, and then we know that's coming, hospice is called in. That still don't make it easier. I can promise you that. So it's one of those things that we get angry, and we blame. I still hear it today, even from family members in my family, of when that person killed this person. They didn't kill them. It was an accident. Pulled out in front of them. That was their time. I hate to say it. If they wouldn't have been on the road at that time, they would have been at home, and they would have went home to be with the Lord at that time. Some way, somehow, because that's the way I believe the Word of God talks. We cannot, how do I put this? We cannot change our appointed time. No matter what we do, how we act, how good we are with God, we cannot change that. When God has it set, and it's appointed. But we don't know when that is. That's why we're to live every day as if it's our last, because it might be. We got to learn how to deal with it. Now, granted, when it happens, we don't think like this. We don't think rationally like we are right now. Because your body changes when a crisis hits. Chemicals in your body are released. Your cognitive thinking, it goes out the window. That's why it's good to have somebody there that can either get you back or slap you back. No, I'm kidding, don't slap them back. But it's tough. It really, really is. And it's one of those things that I've seen it for years. I've never had somebody, when I was on the road, call me when they're at their best just to tell me thank you. We're always called at their worst, or what they think at that moment in their life is their worst, a crisis. You got to be the one that has how do they say that? Some kind of your head on your shoulders or something. But it's not easy. And it's one of those things that no matter how we try to dissect it, no matter what we try to come up with, we have to realize that God's in control and things happen for whatever reason He chooses. We may not ever know that reason. God may reveal why He took somebody home early through whatever good comes from it. But I just still hear family today say, oh, he killed him. And I get, that just crawls my skin, because I'm like, he did not. I mean, unless somebody sets out premeditatively and does something, that's a little different. But it's still the appointed time. We don't know when that is. I hope God takes me in my sleep where I don't feel nothing, but I don't know. I see too many preachers suffer before they die, and that's scary. I don't want that. So I'm hoping that I just go to bed and wake up in His arms, maybe. I don't know. Anybody else? I only got a couple slides left. Y'all talked a lot tonight, so. I told Michelle, I said, if Kurt was here tonight, he'd have been talking, but he wouldn't make it. So in closing, think about this. 2 Thessalonians 3:16 says, now the Lord of peace Himself give you peace always by all means. The Lord be with you all. That's what we got to ask for. That peace. Remember the peace that passeth all understanding? We don't understand why we aren't flying off the handle when we should be. We have every right to be. That situation calls for it, and yet we have the cooler head, the level head. That's what I was looking for, the level head. That only comes through God. And it's still at times not easy, even with God. Because our flesh is always enmity with the Lord, with the Spirit. Always wants to go at it, always wants to fight it, always wants to have the final say. Our flesh wants to be in control. That means our thoughts, our wants, our desires, everything. Always wants it to be in control.
Christ was angry in the temple when they were selling stuff and he flipped the tables.
But he never sinned. I don't understand that, because me, I'd had thoughts. They said he didn't. It was because of what they were doing to his house, his father's house. They were, they were basically disrespecting it, making it a house of thieves, and so it was. So that was a good anger that he turned in for good. This is not where you do that. This is my Father's house. It is to be respected and be reverent. But that's even been lost today in churches today. They don't care. People come into God's house however they feel. I mean, there's no dress code in the Bible. I understand that. But I was raised, wear your best. Whatever that is. If it's a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, that's your best. If all you have is shorts and a t-shirt, then that's fine. But there are people today that dress better to go to a job interview than they do to go to God's house. So this stuff of today, people not having it, that's a lie. Because we live in a culture that you can get anything you want, whenever you want, because we've been trained to do whatever we want. And they'll come into God's house eating food. I've seen them in here bring in breakfast sandwiches on a Sunday morning. Y'all don't see it, but I do. They're trying to hide it, but I see it. And I'm like, God says just stay there. I'm like, oh. And they realize that, oh, people are coming in, so I got to put it up. Water, I don't mind that. When I grew up, you didn't even have water in the church. You weren't allowed. And God forbid you get up and go to the restroom and the preacher called you out while he was preaching. Because that happened once till I learned how to crawl underneath the pews. When I was little. And Bradley, I'd crawl underneath the pews and go out. They didn't know. But it's one of those things I believe the respect of God's house has been lost. And a lot of it, it's the way people are being raised today. And they're being taught to be angry at anything and everything for no reason. Just to do it. Because they see it. You don't think these little kids aren't watching their parents today? Parents that shouldn't be parents? That just don't care? I mean, just next time you're out and about in the public, just watch people. Listen. How they talk to their kids. How they yell, cuss. And then guess why the kids do it? Because they have it done to them and they think it's okay. I've seen little kids yell at their littler brothers and sisters and cuss at them because that's what mom and daddy do. They're taught anger from a young age. So we got to learn to teach people different. And we teach them by showing them what God's done for us. Next week, session 2 is the characteristics of anger. So we learned the definitions tonight. Now we're going to see the characteristics of anger. Like I said, I've got to order 2 more. I'm going to order another Max Lucado that has a video thing for it, and another one by Jim Cymbala, which I love his as well. And his has video, but the one I ordered I thought we didn't have, but we did because it's right behind me. So I was like, I was thinking about doing it again. She was like, we've already done that. I'm like, then what do I do? She goes, pick another one. I'm like, I don't have another one. She's like, what about the one you gave me? I said, that's for women. Because I gave you one to do for the women. I said, I can't do that one on a Wednesday night. So I looked and I was like, well, I can either do depression or anger. And I'm like, let me do anger because I think people deal more with that than they do depression. The more angry they are, then they become depressed. So we'll get rid of the anger first so they won't get depressed. How's that? Don't forget, this Sunday is Mother's Day. So I hope everybody gets their mothers or whoever's in their family, mothers something. And also, don't forget, I have to meet, just to keep y'all updated. I was supposed to meet with the roofing guy today and give him the check for our deductible. However, we are to meet here on Monday the 19th, which I'm hoping I get off. I haven't heard anything from my supervisor. I have to meet them here at 11. I got to meet the roofer, our public adjuster, and the inspector from the insurance company that we are suing to come and inspect one last time. And after he leaves, I hand the check to the roofer, and he is already getting permits and stuff now. And he said within 3 to 4 weeks after that, we will have our roof on, and the gutters done shortly after or while they're doing that, he said, but we'll know more when I drill them with questions on that day. Remember, next week on Tuesday, I have to go for a deposition involving the roof, which it's not a big deal. I've done many depositions, so it's not a big deal. But just remember that everything goes the way God wants it to. That's my goal. And that the church gets the money that it's owed, and that it doesn't get fraudulently sent to people it's not supposed to. Because when it's all said and done, I'm gonna get a copy of all the money that was paid out, where it went, why it went, and what we are getting. And if it's not done right and I find out some fraud has been done, then I will find out if I can do anything on my part. So let's just pray that don't happen. But we know in the state of Florida that the greatest cause of our insurance going up is fraud done by roofing companies. Not saying this roofing company's doing it, but we'll see. They charged almost $3,000 to put those 2 tarps on. So tell me that ain't fraud.
That's terrible.
So it's one of those things that, yeah, I'm not real happy with some of the things, but they got me because when they met with me that day, the guy told me that what I was signing was not a contract. It was just so that he could talk to our insurance company. That was a lie. They signed me into a contract. They said, you can pull out, but we're going to charge you for everything we've already done with your insurance company. And I'm like, okay, I see how that went. I was like, just realize y'all told me wrong. Oh, they know I'm not happy. So, not done with that yet. We'll see. So, just keeping y'all updated. I'm learning as I go with this. I wish somebody else would take it over, but God put me here, so I will do it. Y'all pray for me. I got to be at our training center at 5 in the morning to do an active shooter scenario. Fun. Supposedly we have to do an actual pursuit on the driving pad, get our hearts all running, get out of our vehicle, run to an active shooter, and try to make sure we shoot the right targets and not the wrong one. What I mean by that, they're discretionary, so you barely can tell what they have in their hands because it does look like a gun, but it might be a cell phone or binoculars or nothing at all, and you think it is. And you're already hearts, so that's what they do. So 5 in the morning, I'm like, man, I didn't even left my house at 5, but so fun times. Anybody else got anything fun you are doing this week? Nobody? Somebody try to get with Miss Tina. Today's the 7th. She might be home or might be home tomorrow, or try to make sure y'all get with her on Sunday to find out what days next week. And the week after, we're gonna meet up here to work on the yard sale stuff, because Brother Roger needs to know a date so he can meet me up here and we can get everything out with his truck and trailer and bring it over here in one shot. Well, it might be 2 shots, but we'll see. And we're just gonna leave stuff out. We're gonna leave stuff in the rooms. 2 weeks ain't gonna hurt. We ain't got nothing going on, and there's a lot. I promise y'all there's a lot. So somebody, or all y'all bombard her, that's fine. And say, hey, this is what you want, let's get this done. Get her active again. She says she wants to, so, and she was supposed to be back today, but I haven't heard anything, so. I think that's it. I didn't get anything. Anybody got anything? Nothing that I didn't know about? Okay, good.
Miss Deborah made it.
She made it to her mama's? Yep, she made it to her mom. I know she won't be here this Sunday. I don't think Peggy's gonna be here this Sunday. And Ms. Doris called Michelle last night saying that her and Straley are going to his daughter's house up in North Carolina and won't be here till Sunday either. So, pray for Ms. Doris. I know she has to have her other knee done soon. But I don't know. Something there's just not right with me. Just pray for, don't pray for Straley, that he gets his life right, gets right and gets stuck somewhere instead of going to 5 different churches all the time and all over the place. Just come one place and be happy in the Lord. And pray for all of our family members that are lost. Okay? And pray for my wife's mother, that Mother's Day's coming up, still has nothing to do with Michelle, and God can change that. I know he can, because he's going to be the only one that can. And anybody else that you have prayer for, just like I said, I've gotten some cards in that box back there, not many, but I've been praying over them every single day. So if you want something prayed for specifically, put it on that card and put it in that box. I'll get it. I'll help you pray for that as well. All right? Well, Lord, we just thank you for this night. We ask that you would bless us as we leave here tonight. Keep us safe on the roads, Lord, and help us to be Jesus to somebody this week. And Lord, bless our mothers for Mother's Day. And Lord, we ask that you would let us have a great service on Sunday if you see fit to give us Sunday. Lord, I pray you help us at conference on Saturday when Michelle and I go. I pray that you'll change some things within our conference, Lord. Put some conviction where it needs to be so people can realize we're to come together in fellowship and love and unity. And I pray, Lord, that they would get back to the basics of what you want our conference to be. Lord, help this church, help our roof situation, help the situation of getting the bus ready. Help our church financially, Lord, that we can continue to keep doing what you've called us and asked us to do. Bless each and every one that's in our church, Lord. Keep us all safe. Heal those that need a touch, Lord, right now, that haven't been coming, that aren't able to be here. And Lord, put a conviction upon hearts of those that just choose not to be. And let them know that we love them and we miss them when they're not here. Lord, we ask all of this in your precious Son's name.